Well, hello people, and welcome to a City Skylines 2 update video. I hope you're having a wonderful day. The Economy 2.0 patch has finally arrived alongside patch 1.1.4, and this is the biggest patch and update Cities 2 has received thus far. Now, a lot of you would already know quite a bit of this information from the two dev diaries posted over the last couple of weeks, but regardless of that, there is a ton of patch notes here, bugs, fixes, and improvements. So let's go over exactly what's changing with Cities 2, Economy 2.0. So we now know that the building upgrade has had a rework. All upgrade types can be removed from selected info panels. They can also be removed by using the bulldozer, and they can be relocated, turned on and off, and placed around a new set radius from the main building. This is a really good update, and I'm hoping to see this develop even further, perhaps letting us only place just certain sub-buildings, for example. Maybe I could one day just place the college library to function as a college, and also have it function as a smaller college as well. So this is a great bit of functionality. Now being able to place these upgrades away from the main building within a set radius is very cool. Of course, the economy in Economy 2.0 has received significant reworks. We'll touch on some of the major points here. That government subsidies have now been removed, which makes the economy significantly more challenging and transparent. The taxes and service tabs are now available from milestone 1. And the Import City Services feature is now a toggleable option, which you can change from the budget panel. Previously, this was just an automatic process, but now you have more control over this. There has also been a whole host of changes with city service buildings, including an increase in graduation chance for both elementary and high school. Adults can also now apply to high school if they didn't graduate. Garbage accumulation now also factors in students, employees, prisoners, occupants, and homeless people. Buildings now pay a fixed fee for garbage collection instead of a variable amount, and most city service buildings have also had their upkeep costs increased. It is now more expensive to import electricity, and there has been an increase in the time it takes for ambulance and hearse notifications to appear above the Sim's house. Whilst the med clinic, small coal power plant, police station, cemetery, firehouse, and landfill have all had their number of workers increased. Now coming on to changes in demands, which again we have touched on in these previous two dev diaries. I will leave both of those videos linked down below if you're interested in looking at those diaries. Residential density now depends on household wealth and family size. Household spawns are now based on citizen happiness, homelessness, tax, available student positions, and available jobs. Commercial companies spawn based on household needs, reducing how often the same companies appear in the city. This should lead to much less insane gas station repetition, which I know has been a problem for a lot of us playing CS2. And commercial and industrial demand has been adjusted to avoid not enough customer complaints for newly spawned companies. And taxes now have much more effect on demand. Coming on to employment changes, workers from outside connections will no longer pay tax, and the workers from those outside connections are no longer included in population or workplace info views. Those outside connection workers will also look for a new job more frequently. There's also been a fix for the population jobs and workers amount issues as well. Now on to household and happiness changes. Households without adults will now move away, so you should no longer see 4 or 5 kids all living and sustaining themselves without an adult. Rich households will prefer larger homes and attractive neighbourhoods, this being higher land value and good service coverage, while poor households will prefer cheaper houses and don't mind services being that extra bit further away. The household needs are now calculated based on their spendable money, which is referred to as what's left after paying rent, so they now spend their money much more reasonably, which should lead to much less high rent complaints. They've also added a curve parameter to the death rate to smooth the death of senior citizens. This will cause existing cities to experience immediate and quite heavy death waves, so just allow your simulation to run and you should bypass this issue. Now we'll come to production and company changes, which have had adjusted values for resource production, resource price, household wages, and tax income. While the resource price now has 2 parts, a lower one for industrial processing and another one for commercial companies' service prices. The customers will pay the full price, which is both of these two sums combined together. There has also been significant changes to the workforce needed per unit for resource processing to a pre-configured amount instead of automatically calculated at the start of the game. Companies now go bankrupt instead of looking for new locations if their current property isn't suitable for profit. The number of office workers you will find in your office zoning has been increased, alongside several other balances and adjustments for the production chain as well. Coming on to rent and building level changes, they have removed the virtual landlord, so building upkeep is now paid equally by all renters, alongside a new rent calculation which follows the formula of land value plus zone type multiplied by the building level. multiplied by the lot size and its space multiplier. Those high rent notifications have been tweaked to now be based on the household's income. Even if they currently don't have enough money in their balance, they won't complain and will instead decide to spend less money on other resources instead. The building level is now based on whether renters can pay the upkeep fee. When they do pay the fee, the building condition increases by a constant amount. If they can't pay it, this building condition will decrease and eventually collapse. The crime rate has also had some adjustments as well, with the police coverage for zonable assets changing. Police will now regularly patrol to decrease the crime rate, and all zone-type buildings will increase crime rate depending on that police coverage. They have also removed the crime scene pathfinding limitation of buildings' crime rate to avoid all criminals having the same pathfinding, resulting in a queue to do crime, which is quite hilarious, isn't it? There's also been a new crime factor to lower crime probability in cities with larger populations. There has also been an increase in the cost of purchasing map tiles, whilst those new map tiles now also come with a upkeep fee. However, it's important to note that the 9 starting tiles are excluded from this fee. There is a new option to unlock all map tiles, which will disable achievements and the tile upkeep costs. Hey guys, so I just wanted to cut into Edinburgh here in the patch so you can see that the city is currently experiencing that death wave. There are a lot of dead, so just bear with it, it will eventually go away. But this is the death wave you can expect. Edinburgh is currently experiencing it. But what I did want to talk about was this new tile upkeep fee. So as you can see, Edinburgh's economy is now heavily unbalanced in the new Economy 2.0 patch. And when we look at our revenues and expenses, we can see we're still making an extraordinary amount of money via specifically commercial tax. Service fees aren't too bad, and then service trade as well, but I am not currently using the city import services here. I'm just not using that in Edinburgh. However, what is noticeable now, as we've just discussed tile upkeep, you can see that Edinburgh currently has all 529 tiles unlocked because we used the mod to do that earlier in the series. And this is costing me 28 million in tile upkeep, which is what is crippling Edinburgh's economy, essentially. I don't know why this tile upkeep has been introduced. I think they obviously want to make the game more challenging, and by having to pay this tile upkeep cost, it obviously drains significant amounts of money from your city's coffers. I just don't really know why it was added. I don't think anyone really asked for this. I don't think it was really a priority either. I should also clarify that Algernon is updating the 529 tiles mod to include a cost adjuster slider for this tile upkeep, so you can pay anywhere from 0 to 200% of the fee, depending how challenging you want it to be. And you should also note that upon trying to load one of these maps, if you come into map options, there is now an option in the vanilla game to unlock map tiles. This will start the game with all map tiles owned, and using this option will disable the map tile upkeep costs. It's something I strongly suggest doing because tiles are insanely expensive. I just don't think it's something that really needed to be added into CS2, the tile upkeep, but it is there. 529 tiles does now come with a fix, and you can also opt to unlock all tiles with 0 upkeep on the game menus. So it's quite easily bypassable, but it still does make me question why exactly was this included in the first place. But either way, you now have enormous tile upkeeps and vast amounts of death to look forward to in Economy 2.0. The construction and upkeep costs for roads are increasing, reduce the amount of money the player will get back from bulldozing roads and buildings. They have also adjusted the max shopping amount of the household from 4,000 to 2,000. Specialized industry will now unlock from milestone 0, which is really good. You can now specialize towns right from the get-go. Fixed taxes being collected after bulldozing an entire city. And then there has also been multiple fixes around workers and citizens as well. Coming on to the modding section now, Paradox Mods has received a few improvements and fixes, including mod details will now show what dependencies are installed and indeed if you are missing any. Offline mode will now start with your active playset, alongside a bunch of other UI and general navigation fixes for the platform too. A lot of these fixes regarding the modding platform are only really relevant if you're an active modder, so you can read them if you want, but for most people, you're not really going to notice a lot of these changes. There has also been several crash to desktop fixes for Paradox mods as well. And they have also fixed the endless mod loading notification if your mods have failed to load. Coming on to the performance section, UI performance optimizations for the economy panel, other UI optimizations with audio bindings, rendering cursors, and updating panels. There are also further optimizations for the chirper panel, the particle effects, audio memory usage, FPS improvements when placing complex building or roads, and they've also fixed some further pathfinding issues on performance as well. So it's always nice to see these performance improvements. The game has definitely improved in its performance and its FPS values since it launched, so hopefully these updates are only going to continue to make that smoother, allowing lower end systems to enjoy the game a little bit easier. And then there are 3 entire pages of fixes and improvements for the game, which I will pick out some of them, but I will leave all of them scrolling on the screen should you wish to see everything that has been fixed and changed, alongside multiple fixes of crash to desktop and various other crashes. There have been a number of improvements to trees, including the hue and saturation values of trees, which should make them look a little bit better, alongside an improved collision radius for the birch, pine and spruce trees to better match the visual empty space around these particular trees. They've also updated the European and North American theme icons, making them much more easier to identify. A fix for traffic jams occurring inside parking lot buildings has also been fixed. The water tower's viewing platform upgrade was not actually providing entertainment. This has now been fixed. There was also a bug with hospitals and clinics not refilling their pharmaceutical storage. This has also been remedied now as well. And there has also been a bunch of key binding additions as well, should you be interested in remapping your keys. This whole function is now smoother with multiple fixes and added functionality to it as well. So this is one of the largest patch fixes I think we've ever seen. There's 3 entire patches of fixes and improvements here that just goes on from very small minor things to more kind of annoying gameplay features. So if you've experienced some annoying cities bugs in the past, the chances are this patch has probably remedied them. So if that what was putting you off playing, you might have a much more smoother experience now with this patch. The patch notes then round off with some known issues. This has also been posted onto the Paradox forums as well as a bit of a checklist to help your cities migrate over to this new patch. If your med clinics are struggling to stock up on pharmaceutical storage, they do recommend that you just destroy and rebuild the building. That should fix it. With order saves too, the water budget will be reset to the 100% value, so if you need to change that, don't forget to do it. We also mentioned earlier that existing saves may experience an enormous death wave if they have a lot of senior citizens. You just need to let your simulation play, and those new death values should kick in sooner rather than later. And then that brings an end to a absolutely enormous patch. Economy 2.0 has just the most amount of fixes thing I've ever seen. These patch notes are pretty mad. I will leave pinned in the comments down below a link to these patch notes alongside the checklist posted by Paradox on the Paradox forums, which is from the horse's mouth, if you like, of how to make sure you properly migrate your existing cities into the new patch, because there will be a little bit of teething pain, I think, just as everything settles in. But if you've got huge budgets already, you should be able to pretty seamlessly transition to the new costs and values that have been introduced in this patch. My opinion on this is it's always nice to see bug fixes and crash fixes coming in, because that really is what puts a lot of people off playing games when they're not particularly optimized or they just don't run well. FPS and performance improvements are also very welcome, alongside the game just generally being a bit more challenging because, you know, you've seen in Edinburgh we roll in the billions with nothing really to spend it on, and no matter what you do, you still continue to earn vast sums of cash. So just generally the game should actually feel more like a game now rather than just this money simulator, I think. In terms of where I stand on this, I think it is nice to see these fixes coming in, but I'm really waiting for kind of the detailers update, if you like. I want those search functions, I want my line tool, I want a multiple tree forest brush. And I know I can fix a lot of these pain points via the Paradox mod store, which is great, but that's besides the point. We shouldn't be relying on Paradox mods to fix these pain points that the sequel really should have addressed in its development. And I'm hoping the next major update in Q3 will be a little bit more focused around kind of the detailers update, giving us access to all those props and a line tool and a proper forest brush. I really hope they're lined up for the next update because it's really what I'm waiting for. But besides that, this update will change the game for a lot of you. If you found it to be too easy, or you're experiencing lots of bugs and crashes that generally made your experience quite unpleasant, you should find this patch addresses quite a lot of that stuff. You do still need Paradox mods to make the game more enjoyable, I would say. I want to be careful how I phrase that, I think. I've been enjoying playing CS2 much more since the extra landscaping tools kind of mod update, if you like. So all that stuff is available on Paradox mod should you want it. But otherwise, let me know, are you coming back for Economy 2.0? Is this enough to actually get you back into Cities 2? Or are you still waiting for those game engine updates as well? Let me know. down in the comments below. Don't forget, I will leave the dev diaries, the link to this patch notes, and the Paradox post checklist advising you how to migrate your cities pinned in the comment below. So if you want to read more of these for yourself, it's a massive patch, tons of fixes here, so if you want to scroll through it, you can. Massive shout out to all the patrons that support the channel. You're all a secret blend of herbs and spices. Otherwise, let's thank you all so much indeed for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.